their day. So we're going to start with the first item, which is adults establish a consistent daily routine. Children are aware of the routine. So when the assessor comes in, this is what they're looking for. Adults and children always follow a consistent daily routine or sequence of events. Adults let children know ahead of time about changes in the routine. For example, if there are field trips or special visitors. Adults and children often refer to names for parts of the day. That's a separate item, so they're going to be looking at those as two different items. And then third is children are fully aware that there is a routine and can anticipate what activities come next. So children are naming parts of the day as they move through the day. They move on their own to the next activity and they talk about what activity comes next. If you do not score 5 on these for these indicators, other things they might look for that would prevent you from scoring a 5 would be that you and children do not follow a routine or a sequence of events, that adults and children do not name parts of the day as you move from one thing to the next, and that children are not aware of the sequence or nature of activities and depend on adults to tell them what goes next. So if they come in to assess you and they see that the children don't understand what a name is for something that you just said, that they don't know what work time is, or they don't know what outside time, what they should be doing to get ready for outside time or snack time, they're going to score you as a 1 for those things. So again, I'll have a copy of this section of the PQA for you to take with you. Okay, we already talked about posting the routine. This section of the PQA says the parts of the daily routine include time for children to do the following: to plan, to carry out their plans, to recall and discuss their activities, to engage in small group activities, to engage in large group activities, to have snacks or meals, to clean up, to transition to other activities, to play outside, and to nap or rest. So what they're looking for here, the daily routine is posted for teachers and parents, and a daily routine is posted at children's level in a form understandable to children. So they're looking for pictures or words for each part of the daily routine that the children will be able to look at and understand. All of the events listed in the statement above are regular parts of the day. So they're going to look for each one of those things. They're going to want to see those written in on their schedule, and then they're going to watch in your classroom and make sure that those things are being followed. One thing that is required is a plan time. So the program has time each day during which children make plans and indicate their plans to adults. This is not something that you might already have in your schedule, but it needs to be written in there in some way. It's not required to be done as a group, large group, small group. It can be individual, it can be in pairs. You can do it, you can plan it however works best for your class, but you have to have a way, an opportunity for each child to express what their plans are for the day. There should be a daily time set aside for that. They're going to look for that in your schedule. Adults use a range of strategies to support children's planning. So you might use props or area signs, a tape recorder, singing, planning individually in pairs or in small groups. There's also a video that is on this training page that you can look at for ideas on how to do your planning time. Adults encourage children to plan in ways that are consistent with their developmental needs. So if a child is not able to express with words what they want to do, they need to be able to point. So you need to make sure that however your children are able to express what their plans might be for the day, you give them a way to be able to communicate on their level. All areas and materials are available to children for making their plans. So you have to make sure that we're not saying, well, you could use these areas over here, but these areas are closed for your work time. All centers, all areas have to be open for work time, and children have to be able to have the freedom to plan to use those times. The next one is the program has time each day, work time, choice time, center time, free play time, during which children initiate activities and carry out their intentions. So there's always a daily choice time in which children always initiate activities and carry out their intentions. So what they're looking for is the freedom for children to choose which materials and equipment they want to use. So we're not telling them we're going to sit at the table and play with whatever items you have set out for them. You have two choices. You can do puzzles, or you can do counting bears, or whatever. We don't limit their choices. We want to make sure that they have the freedom to explore and play in whatever materials that we have in all of our centers, and that's what the assessors are going to look for. Throughout choice time, children carry out their own initiatives and activities. So they choose areas, people, and materials. Children are free to invent activities and use materials creatively, and children are free to change activities. So they have, if we have certain art materials that we set out, we want to set those materials out, but give the children freedom to use those materials how they want to use them. So we're not telling them we're making a whatever project for we don't have an outcome that we expect them to make. We're not going to make 15 art pieces that look almost identical. We're going to let them use the materials, create whatever they want out of those materials. They need to demonstrate the use of materials in whatever creative way they come up with. Throughout choice time, children make choices about where and how to use materials and carry out activities. Children can choose from a variety of art materials on the shelves to support their activities. Children are free to bring in materials from one area to the other. The next item is that the program has time each day during which children remember and review their activities and share with adults and peers what they have done. So there needs to be a daily time set aside for children to recall and reflect on their activities. Adults use a variety of strategies to encourage children to share and recall their experiences. You can use props, area signs, pillowcases, hula hoop, tape recorder, recalling individually, in pairs, or in small groups. It's up to you how you want to structure this time and where in your day you want to put it. It does have to be after work time, but where in that day you want to put it is up to you. But it needs to be on your daily schedule, and there needs to be a point in time where each child has the opportunity to share what they did during their work time. Adults encourage children to recall in ways that are consistent with their developmental needs by showing, reenacting, describing in words, or making drawings of their activities. The next one is the program has a time each day for small group activities that reflect and extend children's interests and development. So there needs to be a time set aside for small group activities. So this would be a group of not more than 8 children. If you have 2 teachers in the classroom, you should split the children at least in half, and each teacher can lead a small group. In this small group, you would just have materials out that are chosen based on how you feel the children could use those to learn and grow, but you're not telling them how to use them. You're having a small group, you're having a discussion, they're looking at the materials, you're asking how they would like to use them, you're assisting if they have questions, you're interacting with them, but you're not telling them what to do or what they're for. You're letting them determine how they're going to use the small group materials. So throughout small group time, children contribute their own ideas and participate at their own developmental levels. So individual children explore and use the same set of materials, each in their own ways. Children and adults always stay with the same small group for at least 2 months or more. So the small groups are intended to be relationship building opportunities as well. We are not going to switch around children from week to week or day to day. We're going to try to keep them in the same small group with the same teacher, the same group of children for the whole school year if we can, but at least for no less than 2-month period. In the daily schedule, you also need to have a large group time. This doesn't have to be what we normally consider a circle time, but it can be. But the activities you include during this time have to reflect and extend children's interests and development. So on your schedule, there has to be a daily time set aside for a large group, and your schedule needs to say large group and reflect that on the children's schedule as well. Throughout the large group time, children contribute their own ideas and participate at their own developmental level. So individual children move in their own ways, try out one another's ideas for singing and moving, and take turns leading others. Adults participate with children at each large group time. All of the adults in the classroom are expected to participate in those activities. So there needs to be a time set aside for large group. In large group, the adults should not be directing the activities or leading the motions. They should be creating opportunities for children to lead motions for the group. And they need to all be participating, the adults. During transition times, children have reasonable choices about timing as they move from one activity to the next. Children make choices during transition times: how to move from one part of the room to another, which person who to travel with, what materials to clean up. Adults let children know transitions are coming. They announce, after recall time we will have snack, or 5 more minutes until we go inside. Parts of the day overlap. Children have the option of finishing the previous activity or moving to the next activity without the rest of the group. Not all of the children have to finish snack before the next activity begins, for example. Adults plan ways for children to make transitions, choosing the next children to make the transition according to some characteristic of their clothing. For instance, now all children wearing sweatpants jump to the coat rack, encouraging children each to move along the floor in their own way toward their cubbies at outside time. The program should have a set cleanup time with reasonable expectations for choices for children. So your daily schedule needs to actually reflect a time set aside for cleanup. Children and adults do cleanup together. Adults accept children's level of involvement and skill at cleanup while supporting their learning. For example, adults talk about how children are cleaning up. Child fills a dump truck with blocks and drives blocks to shelf. Children make many choices during cleanup.